Hello and welcome back. In this video we'll be talking about why should we electrify the rail network.
Platform 4 for the 11:49 Southwestern Railway service to Richmond, calling at North.
Let's start with what is electrification. Railway electrification is the conversion from steam and diesel trains to electric trains. Rail electrification is the use of electric power for the propulsion of rail transport. Electric railways use either electric locomotives hauling passenger or freight in separate rolling stock. Electric multiple units are passenger coaches with their own motors or though. Electricity is typically generated in large and relatively efficient power plants, transmitted to the railway network and distributed to the trains. Some electric railways have their own dedicated generating stations and transmission lines. Most railways purchase their power from an electricity utility. In the United Kingdom and Great Britain and Northern Ireland, this tends to be the national grid. The railway usually provides its own distribution line of switches and transferring. Power is supplied to moving trains with an almost continuous conductor running along the tracks that usually takes the form of overhead line or OLE for short, suspended from poles or towers in railway fleet called gantries along the track, from structures or tunnel ceilings, or from a third rail mounted at track level, contacted by a sliding contact screw. Both overhead wires and third rail systems usually use the running rails as the return conductor, but some systems use a separate fourth rail for this purpose. Why is rail electrification needed? Electrification is much better for the environment than diesel traction. This is because electric trains do not need to carry around a diesel engine and the associated equipment. As a consequence, electric trains can accelerate faster than diesel trains. Also, electric trains can be made to de-level boarding easier than diesel trains, for example at 1115 millimeters. Electric trains can cut carbon emissions by 100% if the electric power is coming from renewable sources like wind or solar. Electric trains can have more power since they are no longer limited to the maximum power of a diesel or steam engine can produce. There are different types of rail electrification. Which is the best system for rail electrification? OLE, third rail, or fourth rail? OLE has some major advantages, like it is cheaper in the long term. It is well standardized. It permits greater running speeds like 125 miles per hour. It is better able to deal with adverse weather conditions like snow and ice, higher voltages, and fewer substations. However, in the short term, it's more extensive. Third rail is cheaper in the short term. It also requires less space than OLE. However, you lose about half the traction power in the third rail down to heating up the third rail. Also, you can only realistically do up to 100 miles per hour. Also, voltages are lower than LED because of the limited space. In increasing current, we have to start to current of 4,000 kiloamps, which can put a lot of stress on the substations compared to the 300 amp max on the LED. Also, third rail isn't great in adverse weather conditions like snow and ice, since the snow and ice insulates the third rail, preventing traction tower pickup. Third rail also has a major safety concern because it's easy to reach from the ground. It can easily kill or cause injuries for rail workers, trespassers, and during emergency derailments, which is part of the reason why the Office of Rail and Roads has a very hard line against new third rail installations. Fourth rail has all the same advantages and disadvantages as third rail, with a few extra advantages like it's easier to signal fourth rail electrified lines with track circuit signalling than with third rail or OLE, because of the positive and negative traction return rails is using completely separate rails to the track circuits, which is using the running rails, unlike on third rail or OLE. Which line should be electrified? Which line should be electrified and with what system? I would recommend that all future electrification is done with OLE because of the advantages over third rail and fourth rail mentioned earlier. I would recommend full electrification of all major trunk routes. Trunk routes don't have to just be main lines, they can also do branch lines like the Felix Day branch, since a major port to the rest of the country and needs electrification to allow electric freight to run good march. There's currently freight trains have to swap those at Ipswich, I would recommend upgrading the lines at the same time as electrification. For example, Felix Day branch should be double track. There are some examples of other lines I would suggest for electrification, which are the North Downs line, Berks and Hants line, West of England main line between Reading and Salisbury, Great Western Main Line, South Wales Main Line, Bristol to Exeter Railway, Midland Main Line, Chiltern Railways Network, East West Rail, Poplar lines between Acton Main Line and Wilson Junction, and Didcot Parkway to Coventry via Oxford, Banbury and Leamington Star. If I haven't mentioned a certain line and it fits into this rule of thumb, then it will totally be electrified. The rule of thumb, according to Gareth Dennis, who is a rail engineer, is that if a line has 2 trains per hour and the line is more than 75 miles per hour, then it makes economic sense to electrify with a rolling program electrification. Why a rolling program electrification rather than doing it in waves of massive electrification and little to no electrification in them? The reason is that it cheaper and also allows the skills to be retained and increasing spending, since private companies are more likely to invest, since it's more sustainable than not having a rolling program of electrification. The closest we currently get to a rolling program of electrification in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is with the Scotland. Once the trunk routes are electrified, then I'd suggest converting the third rail network to OLE, like the rail standards and safety board recommends. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to Trainspotting of Berkshire. If you'd like to know what are the references I used for the making of this video, please check out the description.